So you're considering buying a short-term rental, or what we like to call an Airbnb, in Auburn, Alabama. Well, this video is a complete guide to everything that you need to know about buying that investment here in Auburn, Alabama. Stay tuned. Auburn, Alabama area. I want you to make sure to go ahead. Hey everyone, this is Alex Acuff with eXp Realty and the Acuff Weekly Group. We're so excited you've joined us today. If this is your first time to our channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button, as well as that bell notification. That way you don't miss another video that we put out every single week. And also, if you love the video, give us a thumbs up and give us some love in the comments. Now, we are getting reach outs from people just like you every single day that are looking for investments here in Auburn, Alabama. And if that's you, whether you're looking to buy in the next 30 to 90 days, or even 9 months or a year, maybe even a couple years, I want you to reach out to me and my team. We want to be the boots on the ground. We want to help you find that perfect property so you can find a solid, sound investment here in Auburn, Alabama. We are on site at one of our short-term rentals. It's a luxury short-term rental called Auburn Escape. We're super excited. This place has gotten an entire remodel. The experience is impeccable. If you're looking for a premium experience and looking to come to Auburn, maybe it's for a game day, or maybe it's graduation, a parents' weekend, Greek week, any other event or any other time, reach out to us. You can go to Homestay, auburnhomestay.com, and find out more information about booking with us. And throughout this video, all the B-roll is actually gonna be, I'm gonna be showing you all the highlights of this unit. We're super excited. It's a 2-bedroom. We can stay 8 people, and it is an incredible place to stay. Just premium amenities. This experience is built for people that are looking for the best experience when staying in Auburn, Alabama. So today we're going to be covering a myriad of topics within the short-term rental world or sphere. Airbnb is synonymous with the words short-term rental. You may hear VRBO and homestay. And so it's important for you to understand, if this is your first time looking into investing and you're thinking, hey, I've heard this thing Airbnb or short-term rental, what is it? Well, short-term rental is exactly what it is. So you've got your standard long-term rentals, which could be 12 months or longer. Then you also have your short-term rentals, which are typically weekend stays, nightly stays. And then there's also something in the middle called midterm rentals, which are typically month to month, or at least 30 days or 6 months or 9 months, really between that. I'm not going to stay for the weekend, but I want to be here for a month, but I don't want to be here more than probably a year. So that would be considered your midterm rental. Now, Auburn, Alabama is a hotbed for Airbnb right now. If you're familiar with Auburn University, it attracts a ton of investors that are coming into this market. There's a huge opportunity here because our hotels are always packed. And so if you're looking for an investment here in Auburn, Airbnb may be the way to go. And you're definitely going to discover that as we go through this video. So we want to be considering where you are purchasing the property in the neighborhoods. So you could be looking close to Auburn University, which is traditionally where you're going to find most short-term rentals here in town. I will say not every complex, if you're looking at condos, are built the same. It always depends on what you're looking for as far as how much cash flow you want to generate, how often you want it booked. And so we've got to consider all these things when considering the neighborhood, and especially your price point. And the price point can vary dramatically. You may also want to be close to some popular attractions such as Chihuahua State Park. You may want to be more on the north side, closer to the Robert Trent Jones, because we do get a lot of golfers that travel here. You may want to be on the west side, close to the vet school, which is where the equestrian is, and also more on the west side of campus, on the main campus is actually where softball is as well. So you may just want to be trending towards that side. But overall, most people buy short-term rentals because of what I like to call our anchor tenant, Auburn University, and the football season. That is going to be your cash cow season. Now, you heard me talk a little bit about condos, but we do need to discover what type of property you want to buy. So I'll tell you what would be available here. You're going to see townhomes, you're going to see condos, and then you're also going to see single-family residence. There's also some multifamily, some duplexes you may find around town, but they're pretty hard to find for a short-term rental. Now, there are advantages and disadvantages to each of these property types. So for example, you could go and buy a house and it may not be zoned for short-term rental, which would actually axe the entire purpose of investing in a short-term rental here in town. So we have to be careful about that. We'll talk more about that as we get towards the end of the video. You also have to consider HOA fees, or what we like to call COA fees, which are the Condos Owners Association fees. So if you buy a condo here in downtown Auburn, you're going to be looking at HOA fees every month. Townhomes as well may come with a COA fee or an HOA fee to cover lawn maintenance, that may cover roof, it may not cover roof. And so those are things just to consider when you're calculating your investment here in Auburn. Now, it's important to absolutely know what your purpose is with the purchase. Are you looking at this as strictly an investment, or are you going to be using this for personal use? We get a lot of people that reach out to us and say, hey, I want to buy a short-term rental. I also want to stay there during football season. So I will tell you, it's not going to generate much cash at all if you do that, because the big football games is where you're going to generate a majority of your cash flow. Now, if you're looking at it as a strict investment, then you have to ask yourself a question whether you want to be the active host and make it an active investment, or are you looking more passively? And so then we just need to determine if there's a host here in town that's going to work well with you. And those numbers and their management fees are something to consider. So yes, your goals are going to absolutely affect what kind of investment we're looking for. It could be that you come down once a month, and I've sold those before, which is nice because typically it's someone that likes to golf here in Auburn, be around Auburn University. They're typically a season ticket holder at all sports. They just want to be here once a month, and that's not a bad thing. You will generate cash flow if you come down, let's just say 12 times a year. So going back to a few financial considerations, those HOA fees or COA fees, they will affect your profitability. So when you are running the numbers, make sure you have clarified exactly what those COA fees or HOA fees are. And more importantly, when you go to buy an investment, you want to make sure that there are no assessments due on the property and that you're up to date on the minutes from the COA meeting. And that way you know exactly what the budget looks like and how much they have in reserves. Now, when owning a short-term rental or an Airbnb, you have to consider taxes. And the taxes are going to be much higher on this property versus your single-family residence that might be your primary, so what you call a homestead exemption. This will be probably a secondary property or an investment property, and there is really no difference between those taxes. Your taxes are going to be about double what a homestead is. And then also, if you're looking to run this as a full-time Airbnb, then you need to consider what the taxes are, the hotel taxes are for the city, and making sure that you've registered your property and your company with the local city. One last financial consideration is parking. So typically if you buy a condo in downtown, you're looking at one spot per bed or bedroom. And so you have to consider that when you go to buy a short-term rental, a lot of times if the room is big enough, you may be throwing 2 beds in there, or you may be considering the couch that pulls out as an opportunity to add 2 guests. So if you have a 2-bedroom with a couch that pulls out, you're sleeping 6 people. Always consider the parking when purchasing these investments, because if you're only getting 1 parking pass per bedroom and you're sleeping 6 people, it's always good to clarify that, especially on the listing and when people are booking your condo or house. Amenities and features of the property are very important to consider as well. You want to know if the complex or the house has a pool, of course, when you're going to investing in the property. You also want to know if there's a gym or a club room or some type of other amenity that you need to know about before you list your property, because these do affect what your pricing is on the back end. So when you go to list the property and everyone's looking at your Airbnb versus others, they're going to be not just looking at room size and finishes and what all is in the unit, and the pricing, but they're also going to be considering what are the amenities that we are going to immediately use when we visit. Now, those were amenities on site. Now let's talk about amenities off site. So if you're buying a condo or a home, I will say within Auburn, if you're around the downtown area, you are fairly walkable to downtown. Also on Magnolia, there's a lot of new commercial that has popped up between, if you're familiar with Mama Goldberg's, all the way to Toomer's Corner. So you're going to see some more commercial in there, but always make sure that you're close to something. And when you are making that experience for that person that is staying at your unit, you want to make sure that you've clarified or built a booklet out that shows, hey, look, you're not just staying here to go to the football game, but there's also some other nice attractions and amenities that are close for you to get to, either by walking or if they brought their bikes or a quick drive. Now, you've heard me talk a lot about Airbnb and short-term rentals, but we haven't talked and gotten into the nitty-gritty of how to analyze the deal. And so one of the ways that we like to analyze the deal when looking to invest in a short-term rental is we hop on what's called AirDNA.co. So not .com, but .co. And AirDNA is a website you can go to that is strictly meant for short-term rental, where you can plug it in. You have to opt in and log in, and then you can search for a specific property address, and it will give you a rough idea of your vacancy or occupancy, and as well as what your estimated net income is on the property. Now, I will say, at first you're going to look at it and go, wow, those are great numbers, but I highly suggest digging into just below that little area where you can add in all the fees that you have to incur when owning an investment like this, because you have to consider, how much are you investing in furniture and furnishings? How much are you considering for your power, your water, your internet, and all these small fees? They do add up, and that's where you can drop in that COA fee or HOA fee and come up with a net number that's going to work for you. And of course, when we're working with you to purchase this investment, we're walking through this with you so you can understand what your investment looks like on the back end. So yes, using these tools is going to help you make a data-driven decision versus an emotional decision to just own an investment here in Auburn. I do applaud you and commend you for wanting to do that. But when you're investing, you need to honestly keep your heart out of it, and you need to be data-driven, especially when it comes to short-term rentals, because the desirability from one complex to the other, or one house to the other, or area to the other is very important. Airbnb and short-term rentals are very nuanced in the area, so it's important to know all the ins and outs of the investment. We do get asked a lot about hosting, and so hosting in Airbnb is very important. You've got to be good at what we call turnover time. So turnover time is when someone has left the unit, they've already stayed, right? And then you have to make sure you've got a cleaner lined up, you've checked it out for any maintenance or any issues that may have happened. We've had water leaks from dishwashers, we've had stuff come off the walls, just all these little things, and maybe there's a massive stain somewhere on the sheets, but these are things that you need to expect when owning them, and being really good at the turnover of your unit. So that would include having not just one cleaner, but multiple cleaners lined up. If you have laundry in the unit, that is fantastic, or in the house. But if not, make sure you're lining up a cleaning service here locally, because that will expedite the process for your cleaners. And then when turning it over, always make sure you set the property up for the expectation for the next person. And so understand that these are not just strictly passive investments. You're an active host. You are now entertaining people. You're in the hosting business. So hospitality is crucial here. You don't just want to have a very bland place. You want to make sure that it looks right, it's perfect for the season, and then when someone comes there, they feel like they're at home. Let's talk a little bit about managing seasons and understanding the seasons of short-term rental. This is a nuanced part of a short-term rental that you may not fully grasp when first investing. And so it's a big difference between a long-term rental and a short-term rental. A short-term rental is going to have low seasons and peak seasons. The peak seasons in Auburn is absolutely the football season. And when I first got into investing in short-term rentals, I had a gentleman that owned a couple other units here in town. He said, it's really feast or famine. So if you're looking to do short-term rental, make sure it's set up properly and in the right location for football season. That way you hit max investment or max return on your investment, because during January, February, March, I have had months where I've had nobody stay in them or very low occupancy. So when considering the occupancy of the unit, you need to understand it's probably going to be in the realm of, realistically, your first year, I bet you're 30%. That's probably at best, unless you are already an experienced host. And then you may get that up to 40, 50, if you're really good, 60% occupancy. So that means really you're going to be looking at anywhere from 10 to 15, 18 days of occupancy in the unit. So one thing about these short-term rentals is they usually have low impact on your systems in the unit, because people, I get it, people are coming in and out on the weekends, but they're not so hard on your systems because there's typically a good span of a couple days where no one's in there, or just low amount of turnover. The doors aren't opening a whole lot, so your air conditioning isn't working as hard. Your water heater's not running all the time. So you do have a little bit lower of an impact on your appliances and your systems. Now, during the slow season, you need to have a strategy for this, and that could mean that you're lowering the nightly stay rate, or you're offering longer stays. You could move into more of a midterm where you can offer for someone to be there for a month because it is already staged and ready to go, and you have a cleaner come in maybe a couple times during that month, and you can capture a little bit more than what your monthly mortgage is. So you are still cash flowing on the property. Just make sure you got to be a little creative. There's a ton of people on YouTube and Google and Reddit and Bigger Pockets that talk about strategies for slower seasons. And so encouraging people to come to your unit and stay is super important. It's not just all about the peak seasons, but you've got to know how to prepare in the winter time, as we call it. Now, effective marketing is key when owning a short-term rental. You're going to want to be on sites like Airbnb, VRBO. I believe there's a Homestay website as well. And then also you can have your own personal website for direct booking. And so you want to make sure that you're marketing and channeling people to those places. That way you can capture them as your audience, and ultimately they decide to stay at your short-term rental here in Auburn. So when marketing, it could be Facebook advertising, Google advertising. If you want to get crazy, you could just be doing some blogging or vlogging as well. So this is more of a vlog. So for example, I'm actually in one of our short-term rental units today on site. This is the one we call Auburn Escape. It's super close to University. As you can tell, all the B-roll in this video today is going to be of the inside of this unit. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's an incredible place to stay, and people absolutely love it when they come here. If you're looking for more information about this exact unit, you can just search Auburn Escape, or you can go to auburnhomestay.com, and that will take you to our website for direct booking. Another great place for marketing is absolutely the Facebook groups. Whichever town you are buying your short-term rental in, I would highly encourage finding all of the groups that have short-term rentals or game day rentals in your area. So that way you can absolutely start posting on there. You'll see people that are asking for places to stay. Look for if there's events, if there's pages built around events like Auburn basketball or Auburn baseball. I would encourage you to join those pages, check them daily. And that way when someone says that I'm looking for a place to stay, the hotels are completely packed, I don't know what we're gonna do, but we definitely have tickets, you can post on there and just put a comment that says, hey, I've got you covered, check out my short-term rental. We would love to host you this weekend. Now, local regulations are really important to pay attention to whenever buying a short-term rental. So not all complexes allow you to do short-term rentals, and not all neighborhoods in Auburn allow you to do short-term rentals. A good place to start is by actually going to the short-term rental map on the Auburn Alabama City's website. This page is fantastic. We had a little bit of an issue about 4 or 5 years ago with short-term rentals in neighborhoods. And so Auburn immediately adopted a map that shows you permitted zones and non-permitted zones. You may have seen those in past videos. Auburn does a good job. Their COA map is just absolutely incredible, period. But understanding, getting a general map of where you can go and where you can't do it is really, really important. And then once you've discovered the areas that you want to buy your short-term rental in, if it's a complex or a neighborhood, you need to understand if the HOA or the COA actually even allows it. So that's actually a secondary barrier that you need to ensure it's okay before you go looking. We've had so many people reach out to us about units and says, I love this unit, the price is great. And I ask them, I say, hey, what is your goal with this property? And they say, oh, we're gonna short-term rent it. And I said, oh, okay, well, let me check with the COA or the HOA, reach out just to find out. You can't even do it. They don't even allow it, and they'll absolutely fine you, which will absolutely make you lose just about all profit when investing in a short-term rental here. So I don't want to get to those pain points with you. So just understand that on the front end, that when we're looking, it's important whoever you work with, especially the agent, is that they know exactly what complexes and neighborhoods are allowing it, and we are sending you those properties. And yes, our team, we're prepared. We absolutely look at this every single day. So when we're sending properties for short-term rental, those properties you can short-term rent. Now, insurance is a big question as well. You're already in the phase of buying. Maybe you got one under contract and you really didn't think about your insurance. Well, you're looking to furnish the place, so you may need some coverage on your personal items inside the unit. You also need to make sure your insurance understands what you're using the property for, that this is a short-term rental, that you are operating it as a business. So making sure that you've got proper coverage on your insurance, and that number may be higher than just your standard homeowner's insurance or rental insurance. And you just got to be covered on all ends, especially when it comes to insurance. And then you also have to make sure you have some liability coverage as well, just in case something happens with a guest whenever they're at the unit. God forbid it ever happens, but you just want to make sure you have some type of liability coverage when owning an investment like this. Pricing a unit is really a science. You got to get good at it, but there are tools out there to help this make it a little bit easier, especially when you're just getting going. There's Wheelhouse, there's Price Labs, and there's several others. All you have to do is just do a Google search for short-term rental pricing, and a lot of these dynamic pricing companies will plug into your Airbnb and help you out with that pricing. I will say these pricing websites that help you do this dynamic pricing are not perfect. They don't completely understand the dynamics of your market, and they definitely won't understand, like, for example, in Auburn, when you buy one, it's important to understand who is coming to play and how much attention that is going to draw, or what the ticket pricing is, and the desirability of people to be here in Auburn. So all these little factors you have to consider when pricing. I will say you just got to get used to checking your competitors and seeing how they're pricing, if you just want to be comparative to them, or you may want to undercut them a little bit on price to make sure you get it locked up. But that's always an important consideration, that it is dynamic pricing, it is not static pricing. Guest experience is everything when owning a short-term rental, and communication is the most crucial thing. Whenever you're doing a short-term rental, you want to make sure you have clear communication and guidelines for those people when they stay at your place. So that is your welcome email, that you've verified who is coming to stay is staying, that if you allow pets or don't allow pets, because you typically have a little camera doorbell on your unit so you can see exactly who's coming in and out of the unit. Of course, you're not allowed to have cameras inside the unit, but you just want to verify that who is coming to stay is actually coming to stay, because it is actually illegal on Airbnb for people to book a stay and they don't show up, or they haven't said exactly who is showing up to stay in the unit. So for us, for an example, we have had parents actually schedule a stay with us, and they send a bunch of their kids down, say it's for rush or orientation or for a football game, and they come and they want to party, but unfortunately they have broken the rules. We have to cancel their stay, and yes, we can lock them out of the unit, unfortunately, but there are stays where we've had people show up with dogs as well. This is kind of the ugly side of owning a short-term rental, but it also comes to taking care of your investment and making sure that people understand that your rules and guidelines are clear, because people will figure out loopholes within your rules and they will abuse them. Now, guest experience is everything, and we talked a little bit about it, but that check-in and check-out process is really important, that you've set clear guidelines with the people that are staying. That way it's an enjoyable experience. They know exactly what to do. We like to leave a little booklet that explains it as well inside the units, but you may be also sending emails that are automated, or they're you sending them, but make sure you have not missed the guest check-in and check-out procedures, because that is super important. You want to make sure that if you have to charge someone, that when you go to charge them and they ask about it, that you've clearly written out exactly why and what it's for. Now, the last thing is crucial when being a great host for a short-term rental. And of course, we haven't really covered about being a super host, but this is about you initially buying an investment. And one of the most important things to consider is getting reviews and encouraging them, making sure that you're leaving reviews for the people that stay at your unit, as well as getting quality reviews. And everything that I've said up until now will affect how they review you. And yes, people are absolute critics when it comes to short-term rentals. They will ding you for some of the smallest things. So if there's a hiccup with the lock, or if your check-in or check-out procedures are not clear, or if they have a question that doesn't get answered over the weekend that ends up affecting their stay, those can all affect the experience and that ultimate review at the end, because you've got to get those good reviews if you want to be a superhost. And yes, when you're posting on Facebook and doing your marketing, you're using these reviews for all of that marketing and for when people decide that they want to pay that premium to stay at your place. If you want to raise your prices, quality reviews is everything when it comes to owning a short-term rental here in Auburn. Now, as a final note, I want you just to think about, what is your long-term vision with a short-term rental? We've had people that purchase them, that make them into short-term rentals with hopes that their children come to Auburn University and they've already got a great place that's already generating income. It's been paying for itself. And when their kids go there, they've got a great place to stay and they know everything about the unit. That's probably one of the number one ways people get into short-term rental investing in Auburn, Alabama. Now, you may have other visions. You may want to buy one that is not a short-term rental and flip it into one and then flip out of it in a year or two. We've seen that as well. So there's all kinds of initiatives. Or if you just want to be an active host or get into investing, if you want to find a way to make the mortgage rates work in our market, one of the best ways to do it that we're encouraging today is looking into short-term rentals, because you can absolutely inflate your cash flow and be able to cover that higher mortgage payment that you're in, because you're an initial investor, right? You're just scraping by, getting that 20 to 25%, spending anywhere from that 7 to 15 grand to get it up and running. Man, I really need to generate as much cash flow as possible. And short-term rental is absolutely the way to go. And I strongly encourage you to continuously learn, reading articles online, visiting some of these blogs and websites where people are creating community around short-term rentals and their best practices. This industry is ever changing. Maps are ever changing. People are allowing them and not allowing them. So we have permitted and non-permitted zones. And then also there's new complexes or houses or neighborhoods that pop up relatively often that are changing the way that people are investing in Auburn, Alabama. So staying up to date is crucial. And so if you're looking to make that move, I want you to reach out to me and my team. We want to be the ones to help you find that perfect investment and get up and running. If you're looking for a host, always you can reach out to me as well. Actually, we own a hosting company, so that may be a solution that you're looking for, and we can talk more about what those costs are and how we can help you have the best experience when investing in a short-term rental here in Auburn. As always, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what I forgot in this video, if there's anything that you want me to touch on in a future video. We're really excited to be here on site today and change up our venue for a video. So I hope you've enjoyed the B-roll, get to know the location. You know, Auburn is a fantastic place. Just come on and visit, whether you're here for graduation, Greek week, you're coming here for your kids or doing orientation, or if you're coming for an event, reach out to me and my team. We would love to connect with you. So until the next video, we'll see you later.